The Velthren estate rose from manicured grounds like a crystalline monument to wealth and power. Dr. Michael Torres followed his escort through halls where every surface reflected light in subtle patterns that made him slightly dizzy. He was a xenolinguist, not a diplomat. He shouldn't be here. But the custody case involving Princess Lyara Velthani's child required expertise in Velthren child development, and Michael had published the definitive human research on the subject. So here he was, finalizing documents for a cultural exchange program he barely understood. "The princess will receive you in the East Parlor," his escort explained. "Please observe proper protocols. Do not address her directly unless invited. Do not." Michael had stopped listening. He'd reviewed protocols until they blurred together. Just get through the meeting, finish the assessment, go home. Simple. The parlor was elegant, minimalist. Princess Lyara sat with rigid posture, advisors flanking her. Michael had seen her image in news feeds. The scandal, the heir born without acknowledged father, the whispered disgrace. She was beautiful in the way royal portraits were beautiful. Distant, perfect, untouchable. He bowed appropriately. "Your Highness, I'm Dr. Michael Torres. I'm here to assess." A door burst open. A small figure ran through, pale violet skin, cranial ridges marking Velthren royalty, eyes that stopped Michael's heart. Brown eyes, human brown, his exact shade. The child saw him, froze for one impossible heartbeat, then ran straight into his arms. "Father," small arms locked around his neck with desperate strength. "Father, you came back. I knew you would." The room went silent. Everyone stared. Michael stood paralyzed, a sobbing child in his arms, a memory 6 years buried crashing back. A conference. A woman who'd attended without retinue, without title, just herself. 3 days that felt like stepping outside time. A goodbye neither wanted but both accepted. A promise to forget. He'd kept that promise. Until this moment, holding a child who had his eyes and was calling him father. "Kael," Princess Lyara's voice was controlled steel. "Release the doctor. He is not." Lyara, Michael spoke without thinking, not her title. Just her name, the way he'd said it 6 years ago, her eyes met his. He watched recognition dawn, the beard was new, he was older, but the eyes hadn't changed. "Everyone out," she commanded. "Your Highness, protocol." Out. They left. The door sealed. 3 people remained, Michael still holding a sobbing child. Lyara rigid with barely contained emotion, and between them truth they'd both tried to bury. "You knew," Michael said. "I suspected," his eyes. His language aptitude, "but you disappeared completely, I thought." She stopped. "I thought you didn't want to know. You never told me. You were building a career, I was this." She gestured at the room herself, the weight of royalty. "What would I have said?" Kael spoke against Michael's shoulder. "Mama said you were a dream. That father's like you don't exist, but I knew you were real." Michael's throat tightened. "You remember me. You sang to me, before I was born. Mama played recordings." Michael looked at Lyara. "You kept them." "I kept everything." Her voice broke slightly. The world had just tilted sideways, and Michael was still holding on. They talked for hours after Kael finally fell asleep in Michael's arms. Painful excavation of 6 years of silence and misunderstanding. Lyara discovered her pregnancy after Michael left. Political pressure forced her into hiding. She tried to find him, tracked down 3 different Michael Torres before giving up. Raised Kael in isolation, protecting him from scandal, telling him his father was gone in that vague adult way that meant everything and nothing. Michael had taken deep space assignments specifically to forget her. Changed his contact information. Never received her messages. Thought about her every day for 6 years and hated himself for it. "He's brilliant," Lyara said quietly, watching Kael sleep. "Learns languages like breathing, already speaks 5 fluently. Gets that from you. Gets his terrible jokes from somewhere else apparently." Despite everything, Michael almost smiled. "Why didn't you try harder to find me?" "I did try, then I decided." She paused. "That maybe it was better, cleaner, you had your life, I had my duty. Kael had us both separately. He has neither of us that way, just pieces." "I know," she met his eyes. "Michael, what do we do now?" "I don't know, but I'm not leaving again." "Your career." "I'll figure it out. That's my son Lyara, our son. I've missed 5 years. I'm not missing more. The political implications. I don't care. You should. My family will never accept." "Then they don't accept it. I'm not walking away from him, or from you." That stopped her. "Michael, we had 3 days 6 years ago. You don't owe me. I spent 6 years trying to forget you. It didn't work. He moved closer. I'm not pretending this is simple, but I'm also not pretending that child isn't mine or that I don't still. He stopped. Still what? You know what? They stared at each other across years of silence and current impossibility. Then Lyara said quietly, "Stay. Not officially, just stay. Let Kael know you, we'll figure out the rest." How long? However long it takes. Over following days, Michael remained at the estate. Not as consultant, not as anything official, just the human that Kael refused to let leave. Kael was extraordinary, brilliant, curious, achingly lonely. He'd been raised by tutors, kept from other children to avoid questions about parentage. "Why didn't you come before?" Kael asked one evening in the garden. "I didn't know about you." "Why didn't Mama tell you?" "It's complicated." That's what adults say when they mean something sad. Too perceptive, yeah. "Do you wish I didn't exist?" "Never." "Kael, you're the best thing I didn't know I needed." "Will you leave again?" The fear in that question, "I don't want to." "But you might." Adults don't always get to choose. "That's not fair." "No, it's not." Kael leaned against him. "I'm glad you're real." Michael held his son, made a decision. Michael found Lyara in her study, surrounded by legal documents. "We need to talk. If this is about custody, this is about us, all three of us." He sat. "I want to be part of Kael's life. Officially, I don't care about complications or scandal. That's my son. I've missed 5 years, I'm not missing more." "You don't understand what you're asking. Acknowledging you means acknowledging everything. My family will never accept a human consort. Opposition factions will use this against Earth relations. Your career will be destroyed. Then it's destroyed." "Michael, I spent 6 years trying to forget you. I have a son who thinks I'm a dream. I'm not walking away again." He met her eyes. "From either of you." Lyara was silent. Then, "You're cert." "Completely. This will hurt politically, personally. There will be consequences." "I know." "You'll be scrutinized, judged, called opportunist, scandal maker." "I know." "And you're still." "Yes." She studied him, then finally she nodded. "Then we do this together, properly, no more hiding." The announcement was carefully orchestrated, but still caused chaos. Princess Lyara formally acknowledged Dr. Michael Torres as father to her heir. Conservative factions erupted. Progressive factions celebrated. Earth's diplomatic corps panicked. Michael's academic positions evaporated overnight. Through it all, Kael blossomed. With Michael present daily, the lonely child transformed into someone joyful. He learned Earth languages from his father, Velthren history from his mother, and terrible jokes from both. "Why did the linguist cross the space station?" Kael asked at dinner. "Why?" Michael played along. "To get to the other syntax." Lyara groaned. "You're teaching him your humor. He needs to learn from the best." "The worst, you mean?" "Same thing." Kael giggled, and the sound was worth every career Michael had lost. Legal battles followed. Velthren law had no framework for human Velthren parental rights. They were essentially inventing precedent, creating structures that would impact countless families. 1 year after that moment in the Manor, they received an imperial summons. Emperor Dravik wanted to meet Michael formally. In the throne room, the entire family stood before judgment. Kael held both his parents' hands. "Princess Lyara," Dravik began, "you have caused considerable complication." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Your son, bring him forward." Kael walked forward without fear. Dravik studied him. "You have your mother's bearing, your father's eyes, both their stubborn disregard for propriety." He looked at Michael. "Dr. Torres, what do you have to say?" Michael met the Emperor's gaze. "I love your sister, I love our son, I'm not apologizing for either." Silence, then Dravik laughed. "You chose well, Lyara, foolishly but well." He stood. "Let it be recorded. I acknowledge Kael Velthani's Torres as legitimate heir. Dr. Torres is recognized as consort. May this family serve as bridge between species." The room erupted. Kael ran back to his parents. They held him together, no longer hiding. Years later, historians would point to that throne room moment as the beginning of real human Velthren integration. Kael became a symbol of what was possible when species chose connection over separation. But for Michael, Lyara, and Kael, it was simpler and more complicated. They were a family, built on accident, acknowledged through courage, sustained by love that refused to stay buried. The political work never ended. Michael became an unofficial ambassador, bridging human and Velthren perspectives. Lyara used her position to push for legal reforms protecting mixed heritage families. Together, they navigated skepticism, prejudice, and bureaucracy with the same stubborn determination that had brought them together. Kael grew into his role as living proof that hybrid heritage wasn't weakness, but strength. By age 10, he spoke 8 languages fluently and served as translator during delicate negotiations. By 15, he was attending university courses in both xenolinguistics and Velthren political theory. "He's going to be insufferable," Lyara observed, watching their son debate a professor twice his age and win. "He gets that from you," Michael said. "He gets his terrible debate tactics from you. I prefer to call them creative argumentation." "You would." They'd settled into comfortable partnership. Not the passionate 3 days from 6 years ago, but something deeper. The kind of connection that came from building a life together despite every obstacle. One evening, Michael found Kael on the estate balcony, staring at the stars. "Thinking deep thoughts, thinking about the manor. That day I ran to you. That was a big day. I didn't know it would change everything. I just knew you were my father and I wanted you to stay. Best decision you ever made." Kael smiled. "Mama says I have a gift for dramatic timing. Runs in the family." Michael stood beside his son. "Do you ever regret it? The attention, the scrutiny, being the symbol of integration." "Sometimes, but then I remember I get to have both of you. Lots of kids don't even get one parent who understands them. I got 2 who fight for me." Kael looked at Michael. "Worth it." Inside, Lyara worked late on legislation protecting hybrid children's rights. Michael brought her tea, and she leaned into him without looking up from her data pad. "Thank you," she said. "For tea. For staying, for fighting, for being stubborn enough to not give up on us. You made it easy. Well, not easy. But worth it." Same thing. Same thing. Years became decades. Kael grew into a leader who bridged worlds. Michael and Lyara aged together, still navigating complexities but never regretting the choice they'd made. The day in the manor, when a child had clung to Michael and cried, "Father," had frozen him in shock. But he'd held on. And in holding on, he'd found everything he didn't know he needed. A son who'd recognized him before meeting him. A love that survived 6 years of silence. A family that chose itself despite every obstacle. Sometimes the most important words are the ones a child speaks without knowing they're changing everything. Sometimes, father is answer and question and future all at once. And sometimes, when a child clings to you and refuses to let go, the only right answer is to hold on just as tightly and never let them doubt that you're real, you're here, and you're staying. Michael had learned that lesson the hard way, but he'd learned it completely, and he'd never forget it again.